Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I'm John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. Good topic for you today. Let's do it. I just scolded somebody in the subway. I didn't, but I was just in the subway. Have you ever had to scold someone in public that you didn't know? Please remember to like, share, hype, subscribe, ask and listen for shoutouts, and also to all my fellow veterans today, happy Veterans Day. Not me, but one of my customers where I used to work. This guy was being absurdly rude to me and my coworker. I had already told him quite clearly that there was a line and he would be waiting in it. The order he came in, this was a high-end store at Christmas time, so a sense of entitlement is a little bit too common. He called my manager an idiot after having to re-ring something. Another customer behind him, about half his size, taps him on the shoulder and says loudly, "Would you mind shutting the up and letting these people do their jobs? You're seriously pissing us all off." The bigger dude threatens him, and the smaller guy goes, "If you were as tough as you like to think you are, you wouldn't have to be such a prick. Just shut the up." I magically found a 50% off coupon for my next favorite customer. My buddy and I were at a movie, and these dudes who were talking about they just got out of a basic training and were bashing the movie and laughing, making rude comments, etc. Well, my buddy tells them to pipe down, and they flip him off but quiet down. After the movie, we're at the front of the pack, right behind the 6 or 7 guys being rude, and my buddy says that was really rude to everyone, how you were behaving. And one of them, the loudest, whips out his military ID and says, "Yeah, well, I'm a Marine and I fight for your freedom, bitch." Ugh. My buddy, who just happens to be an officer, whips out his and says, "I'm a Marine officer, and just because you have the honor of wearing a uniform doesn't give you the right to be a shit-spewing pissant." Then he made them stand at attention right at the door of the movie theater and apologized to every patron exiting. I used to work in the toy department of a retail store. The Leapfrog laptop had just come out, and they were really expensive. So I'm straightening shelves and notice a kid just wailing away on one of these laptops. Mom is nowhere to be found. I approached the kid, asked him nicely, "Is that how you play with your toys at home?" The kid gave me a sheepish "no" and placed it back on the shelf. I was feeling pretty good about myself at that point when the kid's mother comes out from nowhere and very rudely tells me that I have no right to speak to her child that way. I calmly looked his mother in the eye and said, "Ma'am, your son was about to break a $150 toy. Our store has a you break it, you buy it policy. If you would like me to give it back to him so he can continue hitting it, I would be happy to ring you up at my register for the damages." She then proceeded to give me an eat shit and die look, grabbed her son, and stalked off. In college, my friends and I were sitting at a table, and behind us was a kid sitting by himself. I will admit, he looked a little douche-tastic, popped collar, gelled hair, super tan, etc. A group of kids sitting in the same area had been laughing and talking loudly about his general fashion sense for a while. Eventually, one of the girls got up, walked over and proclaimed loudly, "I'm sorry, but I have to help you out because you look like a total git," and put his collar down. The kid sat there in disbelief as she walked away, and his eyes started welling up. I was pretty infuriated and walked over to her table. In the most conversational tone I could muster, I said, "Oh hey, do you know that guy?" She said she didn't. Then scolding began. "So you just thought it would be appropriate to demean a complete stranger in public? To look like a cool kid in front of all your friends? I hope you feel better, and that you all got a good laugh at his expense. Maybe next you can pause to reflect before you're a total asshole." I then walked over to the table and invited the kid to sit with me and my friends. Turns out he was gay, had just transferred to the college, and didn't know anyone. I used to work at McDonald's when I was in high school, so I sympathize with other teenage fast food workers. A while ago, I was in the local McDonald's where I used to work, and it was apparent that it was the cashier's first day working there, but he seemed to be doing okay. He entered something wrong, though, and asked his manager how to fix it, and the manager comes over and starts tearing into him in front of all the customers, calling him an idiot and an inbred monkey, and so on. After I received my order at the counter, I asked the manager to come over and told him, please do not talk to the cashier that way ever again. Just because you're a day shift manager at McDonald's does not make you a superior human being and give you no right to treat others, especially your employees, like dirt. After I sat down, the other manager came over and bought me some apple pies and thanked me for standing up to that guy. Apparently, he acted like that towards everyone. I'm a pretty mellow guy who travels for a living. I don't really let the small things get to me. A couple of years ago, I was on a flight that was already running 30 minutes late. I was already thinking to myself that the connection was going to be tight, most likely involving running on a brisk walk for a mile or so through ATL. I'm one of those last to board the plane, and I had to check my bag since there was no more room. The 4 or 5 people behind did the same thing. What are you going to do? Well, I work my way down the aisle, and there's a guy there asking people to shift bags, move stuff that won't move, etc. Well, he's trying to get his oversized bag to fit, and there was no room. He calls for the flight attendant, who walks up and says, "Sir, we're out of room. You'll have to check your bag." Well, that was it for him. He goes off on her, starts yelling, "This airline sucks. I'm a million-mile member. I want your employee number and name," and so on. At that point, I pretty much mentally snapped. I felt horrible for the flight attendant who was just doing her job. And this guy spent 5 minutes making an ass out of himself and burning up time that we could be airborne. People were gawking, looking away, cringing, and overall just hoping he would stop so they could move on. I just yelled, "Shut up, shut the hell up." At this point, I was shaking with anger. I then went off. "Take your bag to the front of the plane, check it, and stop with this insanity. You're what's wrong with air travel. Your sense of entitlement makes me want to puke. If you're a million-mile flyer, you know the rules of flying. You should know how this works. Why punish everyone on this flight? You've insulted this lovely young lady. You've made everyone on this plane uncomfortable with your little show. And I'm now another 5 minutes late for my connection. This never happened. I want you and your little Napoleon complex issues," he was about 5'5", "to shut up and sit down. Do we have a problem?" Okay. He started spluttering and looking all flustered, but didn't say a single word. Somebody at the back of the plane started clapping. Oh God, soon the whole plane was applauding me. I just sat down and waited while everyone clapped, and this guy took a long walk ashamed to the front of the plane. The flight attendant thanked me, and so did everyone else. I didn't mean to do it, but I just can't stand people like that. The best part, I had free drinks for the flight. The flight attendant gave me a stack of free drink cards for my next connect and couple of flights, and one of the passengers gave me a voucher for free Wi-Fi that he had won. It was very satisfying. I've worked at Chili's for about 5 years now. There have been so many experiences with rude people I've lost count, but this was the worst one by far. I'm waiting tables about this time of year, aka graduation time, and I have a party of 25 call ahead at about 7 and say they will be arriving in 30 minutes. We set the table up for them, and we're anticipating their arrival. They actually end up showing up about an hour and a half later than they said they would. We had since broken up the big table and sat other smaller parties there. They arrived and were angry that their table wasn't ready for them, and the really soft-spoken, sweet hose that was working that night simply explained to them that we thought they had chosen somewhere else to go since they hadn't come sooner. The lady that was speaking to the host immediately bursts out saying that we should have known that they were still coming, and that she knew Chili's was a terrible idea, and that we are all terrible at our jobs. The host, almost in tears, says that we will set up another table for them in a closed section and that I will be taking care of them. I should also mention these same people come in all the time and are rude to everyone and never tip and always complain so they can get free food. When I wait on large parties by myself, I always start everyone out with a water just because it takes a little bit to take everyone's drink order and get it out to them. And I figure it's better to at least have some water available while you're waiting. As soon as we get them settled in, several start complaining that they don't want water, and I was rude to not offer them a different option. I simply explained to them that I will be bringing them whatever they would like, and that the water was just to hold them for the time being. They proceed to tell me that I'm an idiot and tell me to get this mess out of my face, referring to the water. Most of the people order strawberry lemonade. I make all of the drinks and bring them out to them. People then start to complain that this shit tastes nasty. They tell me it doesn't taste anything like what it did last time, and I tell them that we make it by measurements every time, but I would be glad to make a new batch for them. I go and pour out what we had made and make another batch of the strawberry lemonade and take it out to them, and they again complain that it's nasty. I offer to get them something else, and they say, "We just want a waiter that isn't a dumbass and knows how to make strawberry lemonade." I go get the manager to explain that we make it the same way every time, and they roll their eyes and tell the manager that I was being rude to them. Fast forward to when they are eating their meal, they start being really rude to me. They started pouring their drinks out on the floor on purpose, throwing food at me and insulting me right in the front of my face. I had a couple of other tables that complained that this large party was being extremely loud, which they were. I go over and ask if they mind being a little quieter, as it was disturbing the other tables in the restaurant. One kid then yells, "Oh, you think I'm too loud, bitch?" They all start being even louder than before, and some tables even got up and left. That was the final straw. I yelled over them and told them they were no longer welcome at our restaurant. That shut them up. One kid told me that I couldn't do that, and I said, "When you start causing our other good-paying customers to leave, I can do what I want. Now get out." They had the nerve to ask for boxes for their food, which they hadn't touched because they were too busy being loud. I told them that I could care less if they wanted their food, and that they needed to leave. My manager and I stood at the door smiling, watching them all walk out. One girl told me that I had no class and got what she deserved. A few of them stayed and talked to my manager, begging him to allow them back because it was their favorite place to eat. He told them that they cost the company money when they came in and that they were never welcome back. I once caught two kids around 12 years old about to throw a Coke can at an old woman from across the street. I got in the way and yelled at them to fucking try it and see what happens. They stopped in their tracks and tried to deny what they were about to do. Afterwards, I felt bad and thought maybe I'd overreacted and could have used less threatening language towards two kids, but fuck it. It's probably the only way it was going to get through to them. The old lady was completely oblivious to the whole thing. Hey guys, again, just want to give a couple shout outs and one little comment to Stephen Ballantyne, I think 9710. His wife Shelby just had a double knee replacement. I hope that she is doing better, and he's very proud of her and all the progress she's made, so that's pretty awesome. And Loser Zombie Girl, I think that's your name as well. If you want a shout out, just let me know what you want me to say, and I'll do my best. And my comment on the stories, I feel like, again, not to be that guy, but, subjective, I feel like some of these might not have happened. So if you hear me kind of moaning or cringing a little bit, it's probably that. Maybe it's just me being a little cynical, so I'm sorry. But, Anyway, have you ever done this? I've done it once or twice myself, but, at work. I was at the grocery store on my lunch break. This older woman who had some obvious mental emotional problems was walking up to a checkout line. She went to take her salad out, and it opened up and it just went everywhere. So she starts crying and saying how she can't afford to buy another salad and apologizing for the mess. A clerk and I went over and start helping her. The clerk tells her it happens all the time and that they won't charge her, but the woman is still visibly upset and continues apologizing and crying. Then I hear two 40 to 45-year-old women, hair all done up, expensive clothes, etc. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Giggling and having little laughing outbursts every time the old lady says something. I was appalled, but whatever. To my amazement, they then start openly mocking her, loud enough so we all could hear, and flat out laughing at her. At one point I stood up, grabbed my basket, walked over near them, and quietly said, "Come on, quit it." They both stop laughing and get beet red with anger, and one of them says, "Excuse me? Who the f*** are you?" I calmly replied, "It takes a lot for me to get mad. She's obviously upset. She can hear you over there, and it's embarrassing for you and her." This is what they both lose it, saying, "Who the f*** are you? Who the f*** do you think you are? Don't ever talk to me like that," etc. To which I replied, "Listen, I know you're both really unhappy, because you married a man for money, and now he's cheating on you with a much younger woman, and your kids probably don't respect or like you, because you're obviously a shitty person, but you don't have to be mean to strangers. If you want to laugh, whatever, but don't start mocking people. Try to contain yourselves and act like the adults you never had to become." They were shocked. It was really funny. They said, "We're not paying for this," and just walked out, leaving their food behind. Then the checkout clerk just started laughing, and the guy behind me went, "Yeah, I kind of think I did a bit of an overkill, but I was really shocked at how mean they were being." Went to see the Wolverine movie in a really big theater. About halfway up the rows of seats, it had an aisle that cuts across horizontally from one side to the other. Some asshat father was there with a toddler, and he let the kid run back and forth across the aisle, squealing the whole time. I put up with it for about 30 minutes and then finally went down to the father and said, "Do you realize the entire movie theater can hear your child and that it's ruining the movie for the rest of us? Please make him be quiet." The father stared at me in complete shock as if the concept had never crossed his mind. He left immediately with his kid. I was helping my grandparents run errands one day, and while my grandfather, who was injured during test fire in France during the war, had stood up out of the store mechanized wheelchair so that he could use the ATM, some 19-year-old thug walked up and sat down in it. I gave him 3 polite versions of "he's using that" before he responded saying, "Chill out, I'll get up in a minute." I started to explain that I wanted the chair available in case he lost his balance or anything. Then thought better of it, instead stating "homeboy" in the eyes with a deadpan, "Get up, motherfucker." To which the dude responded with a, "Who do you think you're talking to?" I told him, "I'm talking to you, motherfucker. Get up now." He responded with, "Who you talking to again?" No, if the person isn't scared of you, the first time you say that, it's just gonna make you look dumb. At this point, he still hadn't gotten up, so I rushed the cart, fully intending to flip it over. And when homie saw that I was serious, he jumped up and started muttering about how I'd better hope he never sees me again. As a side note, my grandfather is 91 and looks like Jimmy Carter, except maybe a little bit more unassuming. And I don't think I've ever seen him prouder than he was at that moment. In college for Spanish class I was taking, I had the opportunity to go see a foreign film for extra credit. I had to take notes during the film so I could write a brief summary of the movie to turn in to my Spanish professor. The movie's playing in one of our big lecture halls by the Foreign Film Club at my school, so there was a lot of students there watching. I get to my seat, settle in, and start watching the movie. About 10 minutes in, two girls enter the hall and proceed to make a lot of noise, like nothing is going on at all. They take their seats in the same row, but on the other side of an aisle. They continue to talk for the next 10 to 15 minutes loudly while the movie is playing, not giving any fucks. I can tell the people around them are annoyed with the subtle and groans and multiple head turns to look at the girls, but no one really does anything and the girls keep talking. Finally, I've had it. I get up and walk over to the girls and ask them in the most polite voice I could muster, as I was very annoyed. Please excuse me, ladies, for interrupting your conversation. Would you mind shutting the up so the rest of us can watch the film? I just stood there, and they got very angry and left. The entire lecture hall applauded, and the movie went on. There were no more interruptions. I left that place feeling 10 feet tall. Well worth that 25 extra credit points. I was at a 7-Eleven making a purchase once when some yuppie lady interrupted my transaction. She angrily told the cashier that the coffee wasn't hot. He apologized and told her that he could make another pot right away. She said, "No, I'm way too busy to wait for that." The clerk offered her a refund and she responded, "But no, I don't want a refund, I'm busy, and I want a hot cup of coffee right now." I felt so bad for this Ethiopian clerk who, judging by his accent, hadn't been in the country for very long and was shocked by her rudeness. I just snapped and said, "Listen, you stupid yuppie bitch." He apologized. That coffee wasn't hot. Offered to make you another pot or a refund. What the fuck do you expect him to do? The only way for him to comply with your request is to get a fucking time machine and brew another pot before you got here. Does he look like some sort of time-traveling wizard to you? You need to just shut the fuck up and get back to your ridiculous SUV and try to act like a fucking adult. Ugh. She was just standing there shaking. I couldn't tell if it was rage or fear, but after what seemed like an eternity, she ran out of the store and took off. All the people in line clapped. The clerk was shocked at my outburst as well, but told me, "It's good to know that some people will stand up for strangers in this country." Oh my god, that never happened. I work as a nanny and frequently take my charge to the park where we do the normal make friends and play routine. There's a mom I see frequently whose youngest child we play with. Well, one morning we're playing. I look up and I'm alone with my 2 toddlers and her older child is preschooler. I called for her and looked around for 15 minutes before calling the police. 20 minutes later and I still don't see her, but the police and a social worker arrive, take my statement, then leave with the abandoned child. As I'm walking down the street, about a block from the park, the mom comes running up to me and points to the park and asks where the hell her kids are. I tell her what happened, and an argument ensues, and she's enraged that I didn't just sit and wait at the park with her kids. She just ran to the store after all, and I'm a nanny. I should be able to handle extra kids. I proceed to, as calmly as I can, with the baby present, tell her what kind of mother she is, how much she endangered her child, and a general earful about being an irresponsible, expected see you next Tuesday. There was some kind of court hearing after this, where she claimed I was babysitting the kids, and called maliciously. But when she couldn't provide the judge my name or contact info, I was in the clear. I was not privy to how it worked out for her and the kids, though. I was with my wife, she was then my girlfriend, and we were enjoying a great walk around the Omaha Zoo. We had happened into the primate area, and were checking out the monkeys, apes, and more. This one small enclosure had a climbing rope inside, with the baby primate crawling around on the rope. A small girl edged a bit closer to the glass to get a better look. Just as she did, this woman stepped up right in the other lady's face and started chewing her out. She very loudly said, "Ma'am, your daughter is extremely rude. She just pushed my son out of the way, stood right in front of him, and blocked his sight. You need to learn how to control your children. The lady, being chewed out, was speechless. And the thing is, that's not what happened. Before the woman could even respond, I turned to face the accuser and just as loudly said, "No, you're the one being rude." I was standing right there, and the only thing that her daughter did was take a step closer to the glass. The area is crowded. Everyone's just trying to see better. She never pushed your son out of the way, and his sight was not blocked. You're the one setting a terrible example for their child. You need to learn how to behave in public, because this little display of unprovoked anger isn't it. Then my girlfriend and I just turned and walked off. Every now and then, one of us will turn to the other and say, "I can't believe how rude that lady at the Omaha Zoo was." A group of friends and I decided to go to the state fair one year. There were maybe about 4 or 5 of us, a small group. One of my friends wanted to go on one of the more faster, intense rides, and everyone else backed down. This was a ride in which single riders weren't allowed, so I told him I'd go with him since he was new to the city and had heard things about this ride from other people. While waiting in this long line, at least a good 40 to 50 minute wait, a group of teenagers decided they could sneak past everyone and cut in line and merge in with their friends. I looked behind me and saw people whispering and looking a bit angry. I usually don't like to use my size. I'm 6'4" and somewhat muscular, since I lift weights every day to my advantage, and certainly don't like to use it to intimidate people. People who know me would tell you I'm one of the nicest guys you'll meet, and that I rarely get angry or show off my body. It bothers me to wear revealing clothing because I hate that negative stereotype of all weightlifters being douchebags, so I just hide the fact I lift weights by wearing clothes that are a bit bigger than I normally wear. I poked my head out of the line at the teenagers that cut in front of us, and first said nicely, "Hey, do you guys think you could go back to the back of the line? Everyone back here has been waiting for at least half an hour." One of them looked back at me, getting smart, and said, "Deal with it, kid." I told him again, a little bit more stern, "Just go to the back of the line, alright? People are getting pissed, and you're punk ass for thinking that you can do whatever you want." This time, he thought it would be cute to come back to me, getting in my face, trying to make me back down. At this point, he was clearly getting angry and told me, "Tell me one more time and I'll knock your ass out." So I told him again to get to the back of the line. He laughed, and as he went for a punch, I grabbed his fist, grabbed him by the collar of the shirt, and threw him to the ground, lifting him off his feet. Without thinking, I just took off my shirt in a blind rage and self-defense and told him, "Get your spoiled ass to the back of the line and quit acting like a pretentious little king twat weasel before you regret it." His friends signaled for him to come back to them since they figured out I wouldn't be an easy to push over. I wear glasses, so my guess is they assumed I couldn't put up a fight, and they just left the line in general. I can't tell you how good that felt.